as we don't have the capacity.
So, last week up there, Bluefield, they put up quite a few points, and they've been in pretty much every game they've played. They're good ball clubs here. It's hard for me to kind of get it out of my head. The first couple of years I was here, 18, 19, 21. That was the one we could not get over. We couldn't beat Bowie. So when you look at it from that standpoint, they're still Bowie. So no matter what the record might say or anything else, I think they're a good ball club.
A potential B to A, or do you think there's a chance that, Bowie could rise up and catch them slipping?
No, this is not a catch up and slip type of deal. And Bowie doesn't have a passing game that can keep, a team honest here. I think it's serviceable, with Kevin Taylor and Antoine Banks and Challenger Valentine, all name team, those guys, but it's not consistent enough. And VUU has a good defensive line that can slow down that running game. So, I don't see it. I do not see it. Will Bowie remember last year and want revenge? I'm sure they want revenge, but they're not going to get it.
What's going on, y'all? This is Clarence Jr. breaking down the Bulldogs. And to be honest, going into this Virginia Union game is not really what I expect in terms of results. And I don't think it should be for you necessarily what you expect as a result, but it should be what you expect in terms of what it looks like. And let me explain what I mean. At the end of the day, Virginia Union is the back-to-back CIAA champion. They also advanced to the third round of the playoffs last year, right? So you got to give them their respect. So I can't say that the expectation is to win the game because you got to give them their respect. But what I can say is we should expect it to look a certain way in terms of the game. And when I say look a certain way, I mean we should look competent. We should look like we know what we're doing. We should look like, hey, we are a solid team, but maybe we're just not on Virginia Union's level this year. But we are moving in the right direction. We know what we're doing. We're going somewhere. And so I want to point out to you a couple of things. Very recently, Virginia Union has played Lincoln and Elizabeth City State. And when we start to really look into these two games in terms of the first halves of these games, it's very interesting. So when you look at Lincoln versus Virginia Union, and I believe this was Virginia Union's homecoming last week. At halftime, the score was 21-31 in VUU's favor. So this was a 10-point game, competitive game going into halftime at Virginia Union. And this is a Lincoln team who, need I remind you, has not won a single game this year. Then we go to the week prior. Virginia Union and Elizabeth City State at the half. The score was 14-12 in VUU's favor. After 3 quarters, it was 24-18. 24-18 going into the fourth quarter versus Elizabeth City State. The question becomes, if it goes a certain kind of way, why is it that Bowie State doesn't even look competent? That's why I say this is not necessarily about the result. It's about how the game looks. Meaning, we all know what Virginia Union wants to do. They want to run the football with Curtis Allen. They're going to pass the ball 15 times. They're going to get about 8 to 12 completions in the game. Everybody knows that. The question is, what are we going to do? That's why it comes down to, how does it look? We can't be in a situation where we're giving up 250, 275 rushing yards and the quarterback is only 8 for 12, but 3 of the 8 are touchdowns and 2 of them are like 35 yards or more. That can't happen. Because in that situation, what's happening is you're not stopping the run. And then with not stopping the run, you're also getting beat for the pass. So you're not stopping it. That can't happen. That cannot happen. It can't be like last year where they score 56 points? They put up in this insane amount of yards. That can't happen again. That's what I mean by it has to look a certain way. It doesn't have to be a win, but it has to look a certain way. There's no reason why it should be like 2 years ago, where it's 56-3 or something like that. It can't look like that again, to where the offense was so bad that we could not move the ball. And when I say we couldn't move the ball, I mean like at the end of the game, we couldn't even get some first downs to run the clock to get the hell out of there. We were still going 3 and out. When they taking the starters out and the game is over, we still couldn't move it can't look like that again. It can't look like, it's very predictable. Everybody knows what they're going to do. It can't look like that. Let's talk about the offense. Listen. Once again, Virginia Union is the back-to-back champion. So I'm not saying, you go out there like Bluefield and put up 40. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is they know what we're going to try to do. Just like we know they're going to try and establish the run, they know we're going to try to establish the run. They also should know, if they've been paying any attention, that we've been struggling with consistency on the offensive line as well as consistency in the passing game. Just consistency offensively overall. And so it can't be a situation where we're trying to run the ball and they know that and they're stuffing it. And then we try to do some passing stuff. We can't protect and we can't complete passes either. And they're stopping that too. And it's 3 and outs and 3 and outs. That cannot happen. You have to have a plan to where you can move the football. Straight up. You have to have a plan to move the football. Not saying you got to score 35 points. But we should expect them to be able to move the football some. Listen, if Elizabeth City State can put themselves in the position to where it's 24-18 going into the fourth quarter, if winless Lincoln can be within 10 points at halftime of homecoming, if we are who we think we are, we have to be able to compete in this football game. What we have to look for, it has to look like people know what they're doing. It has to look like people have a game plan. It should look like people have watched film. It should look like people are creative in some sort of way. It should look like people are saying, hey, I know that what Union is going to do initially is try to stop us from running the football because we haven't proven we can pass it effectively. So when they try that, we're going to do this. It should look like it. It should not look like we get out there, we try to run the ball, we can't run the ball, and then we go, oh man, they stopped the run. I don't know what we're going to do now. I didn't expect it. It cannot look like we didn't expect what they're doing. It can't look like that. It cannot look like we don't know that Union has a good defensive line. And it's like, oh man, our offensive line is just struggling against their strong defensive line. Listen, at this point in the season, if us as spectators know that the offensive line has had issues with consistency, if us as spectators know Virginia Union has a strong defensive line, it is okay for us to expect that the people in position know these things as well and have a plan. We should see adjustments. So if the line is struggling, we should see the fullback in the game. We should see the tight ends in the game. Once again, I don't know what they have against tight ends. I really don't, but I mean, come on, man. Also, how about this? We should be able to see a scripted first drive of the game. Even bad teams, they may not do nothing else the whole game, but that first drive, they look good on offense. They may not score again after that, but that first drive, they go down the field, they make something happen. It should look like we have a plan out there. That's what I mean. I'm not necessarily focused on the result. I'm focused on what it looks like. And it should look like people know what they're doing. Like they took their time and thought of something and, oh, they're going to try and do this. Then we're going to counter with that. It should look like it. It should look like, oh, hey, we've looked at the numbers. We've watched the film. We know that one way to exploit Union is in the passing game. And so what we're doing is we're coming up with different formations and different route combinations and incorporating the short passing game and the tight end across the middle and this, that, and the third to get Kevin Taylor comfortable and get him into a rhythm and get him confident so that we can be in a position to exploit their bad pass defense. It should look like somebody actually thought about that and came up with a plan. That's the issue. It needs to look like people are thinking about basic stuff. Using the fullback to help in pass protection and in the run game. That's basic stuff. Sometimes, instead of having the fullback as the lead blocker, handing the ball directly to the fullback. I mean, that should be something that is common. Having the fullback, do a fake block and then leak out for the dump off pass. I mean, I don't think these are like, oh my goodness, this is revolutionary. Come on, like that's what I'm saying. It has to look like people know what they are doing. That's what I mean. It has to look like, oh man, we got tight ends in the game because we want to exploit the middle of the field. They already struggle on pass defense. We want to put tight ends in the game and exploit them across the middle. Then they put more DBs in the game to try and cover up for the extra receivers and the tight ends and all out there. And then we can run the ball with Micah and Max. That's what I'm looking for. And I'm getting up close and personal because I just want to see it. That's why I like going to games, because you can see very clearly. Like, the streams are cool. And if you've been watching Bowie football as long as I have, you know the streams have gotten way better than what they've been in the past. Like, you go back, let's say, to the early 2010s. The streams are way better. But even with that, there's a different insight and understanding and viewpoint you get from actually being at the game. And so that's what I would say, you guys, we should be looking out for. Not necessarily the result, but it should look like people thought about these things. People have a plan. People know what they're doing. There's no reason why we're on here and we know that Union has a strong D-line and we have a shaky O-line. And so we need a plan to help out with that. There's no reason why we should know that their weakness in the defense is the passing game, and we got to figure out a way to exploit that. I mean, listen, once again, I don't know what Kyrie and what's the other young brother's name? Let me find his name. I don't know what Kyrie and Isaac have done, but whatever it is, they need to be forgiven and they need to be put into the game. There's no reason why you got a 6'6", 215-pound tight end with a quarterback who needs time and who needs confidence, who needs to get into a rhythm, but you're not using this 6'6" target. Or you're not using the 6 foot, 220-pound tight end. A big body across. It don't make sense. It does not make sense. But once again, nobody would question why you're not using fullbacks, why you're not using tight ends. And we was just scoring all these points, but we're not. Once again, we already broke this down. When you look at the averages in terms of points, you take out games versus Bluefield, ECSU, Lincoln, and you look at Virginia State, Virginia Union, WSSU, Fayetteville State, or the tough, competent teams in the non-conference, we score 15 points a game. It should look like folk have a clue out there. And just to wrap this up, once again, there is absolutely no reason why ECSU is in the game versus them going into the fourth quarter, or Lincoln is in the game against them going into halftime of homecoming, but we go out there and we get embarrassed. No, that's unacceptable. And that's what I mean by it has to look a certain way.